Hi everyone, my name's Julia, and today I'll be presenting on cancel culture from the perspective of social psychology for my Psychology of Selling and Consuming course at Loyola Marymount University. So, an overview of what we're going to cover today, we'll go through an introduction, some background on social psychology, cancel culture and its relation to social psychology, the effects of cancel culture on social media, and then a conclusion. So, to start off with defining a few terms, social psychology is the study of how social influence, social perception, and social interaction influence individual and group behavior. Canceling is an individual's volitional act of publicly rejecting and actively pursuing harm against a perceived transgressor, and cancel culture is a phrase contemporary to the late 2010s and early 2020s, used to refer to a culture in which those who are deemed to have acted or spoken in an unacceptable manner are ostracized, boycotted, or shunned. So, some more about social psychology. Much of human and therefore consumer behavior is driven by the desire to fit in. And as a result of this desire to fit in, many people will conform to what they think is socially desirable and acceptable by the groups that they want to be included in. And an important part of social psychology is social identity theory. So, the definition of this theory is a person's sense of who they are based on group membership. And this is important because groups which people belong to are an important source of pride and self esteem. And in addition, groups also give everyone a sense of social identity, which is a sense of belonging to the social world, and it helps them make sense of how they fit into the social world. So, social identity theory consists of three stages, with the first one being social categorization. So, in this stage, people will categorize objects in order to understand them and identify them. And in a very similar way, we categorize people, including ourselves, in order to understand the social environment. And we can do this based off of race, gender, and social class, among other things. In addition, the next stage is social identification, where we adopt the identity of the group we have categorized ourselves as belonging to. So, with this stage of social identity theory, it's important to note that some identities may become more salient or top of mind given the context of different situations. So, for instance, for me, my Chinese identity may become more salient when I'm with a Chinese cultural club, or my athletic identity may become more important when I'm in, say, a basketball gym. The next theory is social comparison. So, once we have categorized ourselves as part of a group and have identified with that group, we then tend to compare that group with other groups. And if our self-esteem is to be maintained, our groups needs to compare favorably with other groups. So this would be there's two types of comparison, downward and upward. And in downward comparison, the group would compare themselves to a lesser group. So, and the effects of this, you may feel gratitude that you're not part of that lesser group, and negative effects are you may pity or even scorn the group that you are perceiving to be less than you. An upward comparison, we're comparing ourselves to someone better than who we are, and this could inspire us to want to be better, but it can also lead us to dissatisfaction and envy of this better group or person. Another important theory is in-group, out-group theory in social psychology, and this theory, in-groups are when humans partially establish their identity based on membership to certain groups, and in-groups are groups to which an individual belongs, and out-groups are groups that an individual does not belong to, and these outgroups are often based on assumptions, stereotypes, and prejudices. And it's also important to note that as much as a person identifies with their in-group, they can also identify themselves just as much for not being in an out-group or identifying with a certain out-group. Within these groups, there are dynamics, and two of these are norms. So these are the implicit rules and behaviors all group members are expected to follow, and roles, which are the implicit rules and expectations for specific members within the group. So now moving on to cancel culture and its relation to social psychology. So like I mentioned previously, humans are driven by the need to fit in. So they're more likely to engage in cancel culture if their in-group is engaging with canceling a certain entity because they still want to fit into this group. In addition, they may use canceling as a form of downward social comparison to demean or even destroy other groups that they're perceiving as lesser than theirs. Furthermore, many people define themselves based on their in-group membership. So, and they will defend against ideas that appear to threaten their group and therefore who they are as a person, just because they have bought so much into this group membership identity. Moreover, groups form a collective conscience, which means that if enough members in a group do something, most other members in the group will follow, which creates an us versus them mentality when talking about differences in opinion, which can lead to canceling other people who aren't in your group. So, an example of cancel culture being seen in social media today would be when Taylor Swift released her Red album talking about breakups, and her fans, Swifties, immediately came for Jake Gyllenhaal and were canceling him on Twitter for his actions against their sort of in-group leader, Taylor Swift. Another example would be when Burger King tweeted out "Women belong in the kitchen," and even though this was part of a scholarship program they were setting up for chefs who identify as women, this tweet was not received well by people who uphold feminist values. So if you identify with this in-group, many people were hopping on the bandwagon of calling out Burger King for this insensitive tweet. So some of the effects of cancel culture on in-groups are that people who experience cancellation as a teenager may struggle for years to feel a sense of belonging to any one particular group, which then can affect identity formation because they feel like they don't belong to any certain in-group and will have trouble identifying themselves within the social world. In addition, people who may have identified with the person being canceled may need to find another group or entity or leader to align themselves with in order to alleviate any cognitive dissonance that may have occurred from this person not holding up their role in the in-group that they were once leading. And the last effect of cancel culture that I'm going to cover is mental health. So people who experience this cancellation often experience issues with self-esteem, anxiety, and loneliness. And it also emboldens the canceller and makes them think that their opinions may be more valid than others. And onlookers who saw the cancellation may experience anxiety because they may feel that they may be canceled next. So, the importance of cancel culture is that more and more Americans are learning what it is, with about 44% in 2020 hearing the phrase cancel culture. And familiarity of the term varies with age, with 64% of people under the age of 30 familiar with this term. And this is especially important in terms of social media because the largest age group of social media users are 25 to 34-year-olds, which account for about a third of all users on social media. So, cancel culture and social media. Social media has given people the platform to share their views with a wide audience and has allowed people and organizations to be held accountable for their actions. And 72% of social media users feel more empowered than ever before to share their thoughts or opinions about companies through their social media accounts, meaning that more and more people may feel emboldened to engage in this cancel culture. So For You pages have really driven this pervasive cancel culture that we're seeing right now. So people have access to information that they may not have normally come across, as social media algorithms will push certain content to increase engagement on their sites. And as more and more people engage with the cancellation, the more likely it's going to become relevant in different spheres of the social media world. In addition, another important topic to note on is information cascade, which is when more people engage with the content, they'll make their decisions based on what others are doing rather than their own personal knowledge of the situation. So basically, just again, developing a collective conscious with an in-group if they so choose to participate in the cancellation. So this begs the question, is cancel culture beneficial? For the everyday person, some effects are that people may be scared to share their opinion over fear of being canceled, and some people sharing their opinions on things, especially on other everyday people, may not intend for the videos to go viral, but like I mentioned previously, For You pages and information cascades has made it very possible for any cancellations to go viral. For public figures, they can be held accountable for their actions, especially in relation to political leaders. And this has made it especially easy, even though cancel culture is not new within the world of politics. And canceling can be beneficial if a public figure is acting unethically within the public eye. So, to conclude, cancel culture has implications related to social psychology, especially a person's identity related to group membership and a person's desire to fit in and defend their group ideals. And cancel culture has gained relevance due to social media as it gives people a platform to readily engage with others. And this culture will continue to be prevalent due to information cascade and the trend to freely share opinions. Thank you.